Hi, thank you so much for clicking on my video. I'm Gwen, welcome. Today we are going to be creating 3 beautiful, elegant Easter DIYs on a total budget. Let's get started. We're going to be using this rabbit, and as you can see, it's already painted front and back. It was left over from a project last year that never got finished. And we're going to be applying this peel and stick wallpaper from the Dollar Tree. And once I get this backing pulled off, you have to work with it just a bit, but it does come off pretty easily after you get it started. We're just going to very carefully apply it to the bunny. I'm not going to pull the backing off completely. I've done about a third here, and then I'm just going to smooth this section out, and then I will just continue to work in sections. I'll smooth out the wallpaper and then just reach up under and pull that paper back just a little bit at a time. I find this is the best way to keep control of it, and that way it doesn't stick in places and get a little bit off center or get bubbles up under the wallpaper. I forgot to mention the rabbit came from Michael's, and I bought this about 3 years ago, and their after Easter sale was like 70-90% off. Best time to stock up on your supplies. This wallpaper is so easy to work with. As you can see on screen, I'm just pulling very gently with one hand the backing off and then just smoothing down with my other hand, and then I'll just smooth out everything. But to make sure the wallpaper is going to really adhere to the rabbit, I'm going to come back in with my brayer and just go over everything and just smooth it all out. That will also make sure if there's any bubbles or lumps and bumps under there, it will smooth that out as well. A little tip here, use an old pair of scissors to cut off the excess wallpaper because it will leave a residue, and then just use a bit of Goo Gone to clean them up. And then I came back in with my finger sander and just removed any excess wallpaper that was left over. We're going to make a really quick and easy layered bow, and I've already pre-cut all of my ribbon and lace, and everything came from Amazon except for the last piece of ribbon I'll add, and that came from the Dollar Tree. But the ribbon and lace from Amazon, I'll link it in the description box for your convenience. And I'm just kind of figuring out how big I want my bow. I don't want it to overpower the beautiful wallpaper on this rabbit. I want that to be my showcase piece. And to make this bow, as you can see, I'm just layering the pieces on top of each other. It's just so very simple and easy. And now I have to tell you, this chiffon ribbon is just absolutely gorgeous. And it's just so easy to work with and just gives your project just that added touch of elegance. I will tell you, it does snag easily, so I keep mine stored in one of these little plastic containers I get in the hardware section at the Dollar Tree. But anyway, once I finish layering the ribbon, I'm going to just take a piece of twine, wrap it around the center, and I'm going to pull it really tight, but I'm not going to knot it. I'm going to flip my bow back over, make any adjustments that need to be made, and then I'll go back and pull it really tightly again to make sure it's really cinched in tight in a really tight knot. Then I'm just going to trim up the ends of the ribbon, but the lace I'm just going to kind of fray the ends because I want it to have a little bit of a shabby chic vibe going on. We're not going to distress this piece or anything. I want it to be just very soft and whimsical. You'll see in just a moment that there is a key attached to the front of the bow. I lost this footage, guys. I am so sorry about that. But I just took one of the tails from the twine that's wrapped around the bow and just attached it to the key, just as simple as that. And I felt that the bow needed something else, so I just took another little piece of this purple ribbon, hot glued the ends together to create another loop, pop that in the center, and then I'm going to add one of these beautiful little flowers, and I picked these up from Hobby Lobby, and it is so pretty and delicate, and I thought it was just the perfect finishing touch for this piece. I love this piece. It is just so gorgeous and elegant and just the perfect piece for spring. I'd like to know, have you tried using the Dollar Tree peel and stick wallpapers before? If so, what are your thoughts on them? For this project, we're going to be using this egg sign from the Dollar Tree. If you don't have one of these, you can always use a wood round and it'll work just fine. And I'm going to start by adding some of this spackling, and also from the Dollar Tree, just filling in that hole. Once it's had time to set up and dry a bit, I am going to give it 2 coats of Waverly chalk paint in the color Snow White. I'm going to use this stencil from Amazon to create a design on the top part of the egg, and I want it to go at an angle, and then I'm just going to use some masking tape just to hold it in place. I want my design to have a raised 3D effect, so I'm going to be using spackling instead of just paint. And I'm mixing to the spackling some paint from Folk Art. It's called Conch Shell, and I'm just mixing it in really well. Once I get everything mixed up, I'm going to use a spatula and start to apply it to the stencil. Now you will see in a moment, I switch over from the spatula to this popsicle stick. To me, it works much better to remove the excess spackling. Now I do build it up about 3 or 4 layers because I really want to make sure I get all those little nooks and crannies of the stencil filled. And then, like I said, once I get it built up to the thickness that I want, I will go back with the edge of that popsicle stick and just very gently scrape it across until I remove all that excess spackling. Now you will see in a little bit, some areas are a little bit taller than others, but I'm okay with that. This is a little bit of a shabby chic cottage core piece, so I'm okay with that. Then you do want to very carefully remove your masking tape, and then you want to lift your stencil straight up so as not to disturb the design. You will see some of the excess got on the wax paper. That's the reason that's there. I just used a baby wipe, removed any that was on the edge of the sign, and it came off just fine. Didn't have any issues with that. I'm going to repeat the exact same process on the bottom of the egg. Now I'm just going to go straight across instead of at an angle. And also I want to mention, before I used it on the bottom of the egg, I washed it and dried it completely before adding spackling to it again. And once you've finished, you do want to make sure right away you clean your stencil so you don't leave any of the spackling on there and ruin it. Now you will want to give this time to set up and dry before you move on to the next step. I think I let mine set 2 to 3 hours under the ceiling fan and had no issues with it. We're going to add a strip of ribbon to the center of the egg. Now I'm going for kind of a shabby chic look, so I'm going to cut off the wire that's on each side of this ribbon, and then just once I get that done, I'm going to just pull a couple of the threads and it'll give it a frayed look on each side. Now if the frayed look, shabby chic's not your thing, you absolutely do not have to do that. You can just leave the wire there and it still will work just fine. I'm going to make sure my ribbon is as straight as possible. Then I'm just going to flip it over and hot glue each end of the ribbon to the back side of the egg. And then on top of that, I'm going to layer this beautiful ribbon that I picked up at Walmart just recently. It's just so pretty. And then I'm just going to layer it directly on top of the burlap ribbon. Next, we're going to add in this beautiful pink flower. I had this left over from a project last year, and then I'll just tuck in a few little sprigs of greenery. Just want to take a moment and say thank you so much for stopping by today. I appreciate it. To all my brand new subscribers, welcome. So happy to have you here. And as always, to my returning subscribers that's been with me for a while, thank you so much for returning and supporting my channel. We only have one more thing to add in this gorgeous cross, and y'all, I've had it for so long, I do not know where it came from. It actually came in 2 parts, and I just pulled them apart, and we're only going to use the top half because I want it to lay down flat against the egg, and it was kind of puffy, so I'm just using hot glue to attach it. You can use whatever glue of your choice, and then I'm just going to put it directly on top of the ribbon. I am so happy with how this piece turned out. I think it's just so beautiful and elegant, just whimsical. and it really did not take any time to make this. The longest part, as I mentioned, was waiting for the spackling to dry, a couple of hours or so. If you don't want to wait that long, just use paint and hit it with a blow dryer, and you could be done in no time at all. Everything I used I already had on hand, with the exception of that ribbon that I recently picked up, and it was just so much fun and just a beautiful, beautiful piece to add to my Easter decorations this year. For this project, you're going to need a wooden bunny, and mine's from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to give it a coat of truffle from Waverly chalk paint. Once it's dry, I'm going to put down a layer of school glue. We're going to be doing the crackle effect on this bunny, and I'm just going to make sure I smooth everything out and give it a good even layer of the glue. On top of the glue, I'm going to add a layer of chalk paint, and I'm using the color Plaster, and I like to try and load up my brush where I can get one single stroke all the way down. I didn't have enough paint on the brush, and so I did have to go over it again. And you want to try to go over the glue as few times as possible, because the more you go over it, the more it's going to lessen your crackle effect, because it's mixing the paint and the glue together. Whenever I do the crackle effect, I generally like to let it set overnight at least and dry. But because I'm pressed for time and getting this project completed, I hit it with the blow dryer, and while it was finished drying, I'm going to go ahead and create a little bow out of this mesh ribbon. This is from the Dollar Tree, and this beautiful peach ribbon came from Hobby Lobby. I don't know if you can tell or not, but these are actually roses, and I just cut off 2 of the segments, and I'm just going to tie it together with some twine and then just pop it right on the ear of the bunny. When I was at Hobby Lobby, I picked up a package of these little signs, and it says Happy Easter, and I'm just going to use a baby wipe and give it 2 coats of the antiquing wax from Waverly chalk paint, and then once it dries a little bit, I'm just going to use a combination of hot glue and super glue to attach it to the front of the bunny. I'm going to hot glue some of these tumbling tower blocks to the back of the bunny. These were left over from another project. And I've already painted one of the small cutting boards from the Dollar Tree off camera, same color and Plaster from Waverly. Added a little bit of hot glue to each of the tumbling tower blocks, and I'm just going to hold the bunny in place until it sets up. Pretty generous layer of hot glue, and then I'm just going to add some moss, and I'm just going to continue until I've covered the entire surface of the cutting board. We're going to be decoupaging a piece of this beautiful tissue to this egg, and this egg's from the Dollar Tree. I've given a coat of white paint, let it dry, and now I'm just adding a layer of Mod Podge, and then I'm going to let that Mod Podge dry as well. We're going to be doing the heat method to attach the tissue to the egg, and that's just simply adding your Mod Podge, letting it dry, and then using an iron on low heat to reactivate that Mod Podge, and it causes your tissue to adhere to the egg. And it is just such a wonderful method to decoupage with. I love it. It gives you a perfect finish almost every single time. And then I'm just going to go in with my little finger sander and just remove that excess tissue. Next, we're going to add some beautiful embellishments to the egg, and I'm using this lace from the Dollar Tree. I've just cut down a little strip, and I'm going to add a teeny tiny dab of hot glue right in the center just to keep the lace in place, and then I'll flip it over and then just hot glue the lace down on each side of the egg. We're going to really take our egg to the next level. I've added 1 row of these half pearl beads just below the lace, and now I'm adding in 1 more row just above the lace, and I think they are so beautiful. Now I got a little ahead of myself adding the moss in earlier, If I'd waited, it would have made these next few steps a little bit easier, but that's okay. We adjusted and we just rolled on with it. To make our egg stand up, I'm using 2 of these tumbling tower blocks. You saw I just hot glued one to the cutting board and then one to the back of the egg, just held it in place until it's set up. And then I'm just going to tuck in some more of this moss around it just to cover up our mechanics. And now I'm adding in a piece of this little tiny piece of foam. I really needed a little bit bigger piece, but that's okay. Again, we're going to make it work. And we're going to be adding in these beautiful little tulips. They are so gorgeous. I just love this peachy color. I've gone ahead and stripped off the greenery that came on these tulips. I just didn't care for it, and I'm just popping them into the floral foam. I had originally planned not to hot glue them in, but because they are a little bit top heavy, I do go back later on and hot glue them in. And I also clip 2 of them down and make them just a little bit shorter. I wasn't really feeling them all being the same height, and I thought it was just more pleasing to the eye to have the height staggered just a little bit. All that's left to do is to just add in my greenery, and off camera I did go back and add in some of the little white styrofoam eggs that you can pick up at the Dollar Tree. I love this little shabby chic bunny. It's just adorable, at least to me. By the way, I found the little peach tulips at Walmart. They had several colors, but when I saw those peach ones, I'm like, oh my gosh, this project is just meant to be, and I think they go perfect with the little lace rosettes. Thank you so very much for being here today. I truly appreciate you. If you're not subscribed and you've enjoyed my video, please take a moment and hit that subscribe button and leave me a comment. I truly appreciate it, and it helps my channel to continue to grow, and I cannot wait to see you next time. Bye!